What is up, Midnight Tokers, Afternoon Hailers, and AM Hookah Smokers? This is the AM Hookah Podcast, starting right on time today. So if you thought you could get here late and be okay, turns out AM Hookah Podcast is turning over a new leaf, and we're starting on time every single time, this time, especially this time. We are your weekly hookah podcast every Monday at 6:30 Central Standard Time, usually on time or there close about. Right here on YouTube, I am your host of this little venture, and joining me is the dream in your pipe. It's Pipe Dream Hookah, Adrian Hunter. How you doing this week?
Doing good, man. I got the beer, and I got a hookah, and it's Monday.
Ooh.
You know what that means?
It means party time.
No, it means they're going to smoke hookah and talk about hookah.
Oh.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had a pretty fun and exciting week. I bought something useless. Not useless. I bought something I didn't need.
Ooh.
Yeah, I bought a Switch Lite, Adrian. I have no need for it. I have no need at all for it, but I had to buy it. I bought it.
Why? Why'd you do it?
I convinced myself that I needed it because it would be good and fun to have. And that's why I have it. It's really comfortable, actually. I will say that the Switch Lite is surprisingly comfortable.
But you have a Switch, too.
I do, but you see my...
So, like, you just bought a Switch with, 100% less functionality.
I bought a still. Instead of a Switch, I bought a still. Because it's a standstill. But here's the thing, okay? Because there's... Hold on.
I quit. I fucking quit, everybody.
Hold on.
Want to have a great night on the Matthew Podcast.
Hold on just a second, because here's the thing. The Switch now supports cloud backups, right? And because of that reason, I can leave my home Switch docked and take my standstill Switch with me. And basically, I'm getting all the Switchness to it without ever removing the Switch from the dock.
You realize that, you can just remove the Switch from the dock because that's the way they designed that fucking system?
Nah, it's too much work.
No, that's too much, man. You are a real American.
Too much.
For first world problems, baby.
On today's episode, we're going to be joined by two very special guests, and it's going to be a really fun time. We're going to be talking about Tangiers hookah tobacco. Yes, that's right. We're going to be talking about Tangiers. We're going to be talking about a ton of stuff related to Tangiers, including our personal top 5 lists. We're also going to be talking about bowls and packing and just all sorts of stuff. But we are going to be joined by none other than our producer, Bracken Cox. We're also going to be joined by our very good friend of the show, Paul, as well.
Eddie.
But before we get joined by those two sexy motherfuckers, we are first going to do our very important age warning. So, Adrian, please, if you could, take it away, my friend.
Before we do that, I think I shafted Travis Green 2 weeks ago on what beer I'm drinking. So it's a Bell's brew. It's a brewer we have out here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's just some vanilla chocolate cherry shit. Try it. In the world, 3-dimensional space, time. Because of time, we're all in age. And in most states, the age is 18. Some of them it's 21. Those are the magical numbers that allow you to enjoy tobacco products. Now, here's the thing. We almost exclusively talk about tobacco products on this podcast, meaning you can't legally consume this content if you're under a certain age. So go do your homework. Come back when you're of age. Seriously. Are we still on Facebook? Especially you fucking Facebook. Because I think little kids. We're not? Fuck yeah. What's up, YouTubers? We should have a problem then. Why am I even doing this? You guys are all adults, probably. But if you're not, leave.
Yes. If you're not of legal age to enjoy the hobby of hookah, please don't watch this content. It's not good for you. It won't do anything for you.
It's known to the state of cancer to cause California.
The state of cancer. Yes, the state of cancer. We are no longer on Facebook, and we are also no longer on Twitch anymore. We're just right here on YouTube. You want to watch the AM Hookah Podcast, share the podcast with your friends, your family, your coworkers. If you are like a manager of like a business and there are people that work underneath you, though it may not be legally okay to do this, like force them to watch the show. Force them to share. No, can't say that. Legally, don't you maybe just highly recommend it. Highly recommend it to your
recommend it.
Yeah, there you
DM me at shadymcshadypants.net and I will provide you with some subsidies.
Yeah, that you can only reach that domain by going onto the dark web though. So be careful.
Yeah, you're gonna need an onion surfer for sure.
Yeah, so there's not going to be a Friday show going forward. These are a couple small podcast notes. There's not going to be a podcasting gamecast for a little while. There's not going to be a technical difficulties for a little while. There's going to be some changing. There's still going to be Wednesday produced content. Hope you guys have been enjoying that. I just dropped a review for Dark Side, which is really fun and cool, and I hope you guys enjoy that content. But there is going to be some small changes moving forward, so keep an eye out for those as well. But yeah, we're not on Facebook. We do have a group, and we do have a page on Facebook, and we're not on Twitch streaming the actual podcast anymore. So yeah, those are just a little bit of news items to bring out to you. But without further ado, I think it's about time that we bring on our good friends to the show. So please help me in welcoming your friend and mine. You know him for his hashtag sexy packs, or maybe his Tito word of the day. He's a true friend to the entire community of hookah. He is just somebody that I am lucky enough to also be able to call not only a friend, but somebody that I've been able to smoke with in person on multiple occasions. I'm so happy to be able to say this. Please welcome Paul and our producer, Bracken Cox. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Also Eddie.
How you doing? How you doing, Paul?
Hello, everybody. It's me again. How you doing?
Oh, good.
I'm doing good.
You break that character, you're fired, bro.
Yeah. Bracken, how
For
are
like
you doing?
half a second, I thought when Adrian was like, "Yeah, 2 weeks ago I didn't tell Travis my flavor, so this week I'm gonna do the same." But then he told him, and I was like,
"Been a way better
man.
meme. I fucked up." Oh, I'm sorry. I'll leave. My bad.
"Oh no, you're good."
Bye.
Oh my goodness. This show is gonna be fire. I can already feel it in my bones that this show is gonna be absolutely crazy time fun. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about Tangiers, obviously. We're gonna be talking to Paul and going over a small interview with him as well, as I think that everybody, if you don't know who he is, you should get to know him because he's a awesome person. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into the show like we normally do and start off by talking about what it is that we're smoking on today's episode. Let's go ahead and kick it over to Adrian and start with you. What are you smoking today, man?
It should be Tangiers. I'm waiting on 500 kilos of the Cashmere Black. I can talk on the new Tangiers because I've had some, but I don't have any in the house. I can't talk about what's in my bowl right now. All I can say is it's delicious and it's coffee flavored. More on that at a later date. I am legally bound against talking about it. Maybe some people in this room know about it. Maybe you don't. If you shut the fuck up. However, some things have changed. Nothing up here. Surreyville, Provost. Some of these bad boys, but it's not these bad boys. It's the cube variation. This is the jumbo flat. Highly recommend. This is the jumbo flat, right? Yeah, jumbo flat, orange box. This is an Alpha X. It's a good hookah.
Alpha.
It's just an Alpha. Check this out. Hopefully,
It's not just an Alpha. It is.
An alpha. Yeah.
The purge.
Hey. Oh man, that's
What?
so cool.
Yeah, it's good.
What do they call that? They call that a vertical purge, right?
They got some fancy fucking Fugazi Matrix name for it, I'm sure. It's a purge.
They used to call it like an invisible purge, but vertical sounds way better.
I can check it out.
We can see the holes.
I saw everything.
Yeah, the holes
It's
are right there.
definitely
Not really
invisible.
Yeah.
I can see it. Okay.
All right, so that is what Adrian is smoking. You may or may not know about it, but make sure you head on over to Pipe Dream Hookah on YouTube so you can eventually find out more stuff about what it is that he is smoking, I would imagine. And let's go ahead and kick it over to Bracken. Bracken, what are you smoking on today's fine episode of the podcast?
Well, I am smoking Tangiers because I had it. So I thought, yeah, that's an appropriate time to pack it when we're talking about it. If you caught the pre-show on the Facebook page, I packed my bowl live, put on a little show, okay? I was feeling good. I was in the mood. Not like that mood, but I was in like a tropical mood. I had on a hat and some sunglasses and a seashell bikini and the shirt. It wasn't like just a bikini. But I packed up some Tangiers Summer Resort. And so I was listening to some like island music and packed my bowl and like I was vibing. And I love this flavor.
If you guys are not watching the pre-show on the Facebook group, I highly recommend it. It is a really fun time. You guys should go definitely check it out. He usually goes like 45 to 30 minutes before the episode starts, and he's just on Facebook riffing and having a great time. If you guys are not watching that, highly, highly recommend you guys go over there and watch it.
Sometimes it's funny, and other times it's like,
serious?
What is happening? What's going on?
And that sometimes you get like real deep and serious, like, hey guys, we really need to talk about some stuff.
We spill the tea and talk about our feelings.
Exactly. All right, Paul, what about you? What are you smoking on today's fine episode of the podcast?
So I accidentally went with not accidentally. So I'm going with a Soka. It is I have the HEW3 VIP bowl on it, and I have Alpha Kama passion fruit mixed side packed with Tangiers Summer Resort. So I was going for like a passion fruit, cucumber, water kind of thing.
I
with this.
love mixing Tangiers with really quality blondes. I've been doing it a lot lately.
Isn't it weird how like there's this stigma, or at least there was a stigma against mixing Tangiers with like anything, but especially like a blonde, like a flue-cured blonde tobacco. And now everyone's found out like, oh, it's just the best shit ever.
Well, you know what I think fixed that stigma, Adrian? I think that maybe 5-10 years ago when that kind of philosophy started, and no shade to the blondes that were around then, but I don't think that they were quality enough to mix with Tangiers.
That's fair.
You know?
I mean, I won't be mixing Starbuzz with Tang anytime soon. There's some Alfaker flavors that do work if you're still smoking Alfaker. I think Alfaker makes a slightly better double apple than Tang after sitting on it for a while. But I agree. I think the addition of stuff like Alpha Kama being around,
Alpha Kama and Eternal Smoke, in my opinion,
100%.
I've been mixing them, and oh my gosh, a while back I got on this kick where I was mixing the other breakfast cereal, which is like the breakfast cereal that's kind of heavy with the cherry.
Yeah.
And I was mixing it with, by the way, what cereal is that supposed to taste like?
Fruity Pebbles. Or not Fruity Pebbles, Tricks, right?
Tricks?
Is it
There's
Tricks or Fruity
there's
Pebbles?
one that they said is supposed to be Fruity Pebbles, but it doesn't taste like Fruity Pebbles. It tastes like Tricks. And then the other one is supposed to be
Fruit Loops?
Fruit
Fruit
Loops,
Loops,
but it
that's
tastes
what it
like
was.
Fruity Pebbles.
That's what it was.
So they named them wrong.
I think the people that said that it
As
tastes
Adrian
like
would say, it's a
X, Y, and
fugazi.
Z has different palettes than everybody else. Because Tangiers never really came out and said, "Oh, this flavor is supposed to be this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mixed the other cereal with from Tangiers with Eternal Smokes. I just forgot the flavor. Houdini's Secret, which is their guava melon rose.
Mm-hmm.
And so it had like that cherry cereal with like the oh my gosh, it was so
How
good.
did you mix it? Did you do side by side, mix it together? Did you layer pack it? Because I've been layer packing Eternal
Yo,
Smoke.
layer packing Tangiers is
I pre-mixed it and I let it sit for a little bit. And then I did like a semi-dense, almost dense pack. What I found out is like when I mix it with a blonde, I can use my Lotus and it smokes forever. Especially Eternal Smoke. Like I think I smoked for 3.5 hours on a bowl. And I just got tired.
You can. Those clouds don't go away with that brand.
It's funny because Eternal Smoke's like one of the few blonde brands that can smoke as long as Tangiers if you want it to. So
yeah, it just
trigonometry works
It's
out.
the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and going and going. But yeah, that's cool that you're mixing them. I like doing that.
I do too.
Very cool.
I like layer packing.
We'll have to talk about that.
I don't do a lot of layer packing. I don't do that
We
very
need to have
much.
a talk about that at some point tonight.
We should.
We should.
We should talk about layer packing. By the way, everybody who's here, thank you so much for showing up. We appreciate it. Nice to see everyone that is hanging out in the chat. Jenica Patterson, I see your name. Diamond Roberts is here as well. It looks like Paul is in the chat as well. Always nice to see when he's able to show up. What is up, my main man? Pots and Pans. Bilu is here in the chat as always. Robert Pope, how are you doing? So good to see you guys all hanging out in the chat at the moment. I am smoking on today's episode of the podcast some Tangiers because it's a Tangiers-based episode, so I thought maybe I should smoke some Tangiers tobacco. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm doing some lemon tea. I really like this flavor quite a bit. I actually get like a lemonade taste from this, which it turns out I might be crazy because no one else is really getting
It
that.
needs more tea. I will concede to that.
Yeah.
I would third that.
I get a lemonade taste to it, which I actually really like because of that reason. And then I'm also smoking my cherry limeade because cherry limeade is possibly the best of this entire batch. I really like this cherry limeade flavor. And then I threw some Rio Mint in there as well because cane mint is shit and Rio Mint is the best. At me. Go ahead. At me.
You can't say that.
At me if you want to. At me. Go ahead. I don't care.
People are gonna hate us.
At me. I'll take it. I will take
There's
Rio
so
Mint
much
is so
tobacco
good.
out in the world. You can do whatever you want.
And then I'm using my Like Smoke Hookah. I'm using 3 of the Jumbo Flats with a Provost, and I'm also using my Surrey Bowl as well because it's a Tangiers wonderful bowl that works very well. So moving on from what we are smoking, which I'm sure we'll be talking more about our Tangiers here in just a little while, let's go ahead and jump into the picture of the week. And we actually have 2 pictures of the week. The very first one that we have to talk about today, though, is from our good friend Andre J. from Versatile Hookah. I don't know if you guys saw the thread that was happening inside the AM Hookah podcast group, but obviously our fantastic Facebook moderator, Captain Wetbeard, was asking people to show off their stashes. And this stash from Andre J is just fantastic. He has an amazing setup for all of his hookah stuff. I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. And then I don't know if you can see or not. If you check that very top of the of his shelf where he has all his hookahs laid out, there's this amazing looking Venom vase that he custom painted himself. And
I saw that.
And then in the thread, he also has this amazing Spawn vase that he painted himself as well. You guys need to go to Facebook group and you need to check out that thread so you can see the custom work that he's done. Just absolutely fantastic. This setup though, I think is just fantastic. Does anybody have a setup that's similar to this?
You know what?
Huh.
I'm a little envious because the hookahs that I'm like maining right now in this video game, I imagine that I'm playing all day. They have like integrated hoses. Like you can't really use anything but this hose with the Alpha. You can't use anything but the Matte Pair hose with the Matte Pair. And I forgot what it's like to have a collection of hoses, and I need to get back on that. I like seeing that whole hose shelf.
Yeah. I just got rid
super cool.
of a bunch of hoses because I had too many, but I do like the way that they're all laid out, obviously. So let's picture
a bundle of hoses. The plural of one hose is a bundle.
A bundle.
I'm gonna borrow his idea and kind of put some shelves up.
It looks very clean. It's so nice. That's a great shisha station right there. I really
think
like
the
that.
word clean is just the perfect way to say that, right? I saw that and I was immediately envious. Like, oh man, it's clean. It's amazing. It's spectacular. The only thing he's missing is a pack mat, but bias. So
you could fit like 6 pack mats on that table. You know what I'm saying?
Or a really long glass one, just one that covers
so
the entire
neatly
piece.
organized that I was like, I looked at my stuff after I saw that and I was like, I got to do something about this.
I do love how your stuff is just everywhere. I like how you just have like gigantic columns of tobacco just everywhere.
It looks like a hookah lounge shut down and just like unloaded their stock in my garage. That's what looks like.
All right, so we have a second picture of the week because Captain Wetbeard loved this pun so very much. But we were asking for shisha stashes, obviously. So you have to show off the greatest shisha stash of them all, which is being worn at the moment by Jeremy Bird over at Hookah University. Check this out. He has one of the amazing Spire hookah tips that David Harris, good friend of ours, is producing and creating. But yeah, check it out on Jeremy. He just looks so fancy. He looks so very fancy wearing this shisha stash and his monocle as well. I just love this. I thought it was really good. And yes, this is the perfect pun if I've ever heard of a pun before when we're looking for shisha stashes. I think that's pretty fantastic. What do you guys think?
That is the most honorable of honorable mentions that we could make.
Yes,
like
very,
it didn't
very nice.
win, but it was pretty damn close.
And it's basically a winner. Basically, I would say.
He gave us what we asked for without giving us what we asked for.
It was a mere coincidence that they got sent out the same time that Wetbeard sent out that post.
Or was it?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Kind of sounds like a conspiracy.
Is it a fugazi?
It's a bit of a fugazi.
I don't know if that's a fugazi. I mean, I'm not your.
Matt, define fugazi real quick.
I have no good definition.
That's what I fucking thought.
My definition of fugazi is Adrian. Like that's my definition of a fugazi is just Adrian. That's all it is.
Can we abbreviate it and just say?
In Wolf on Wall Street, they say fugazi.
Fugazi.
With their accents,
Yeah.
All right, so that's our picture of the week. If you guys want to have your chance to be shouted out on the AM Hookah Podcast for your picture of the week, head on over to the Facebook group over on Facebook/AM Hookah Podcast. We have a page and we also have a group. Join the group so that you can see the prompt that Captain Wetbeard puts up. And then if your picture is selected, you will get shouted out right here on the AM Hookah Podcast. Let's go ahead and jump into our topics of today. And we're going to kick things off by having a conversation with Paul for a little while and find out exactly who he is. So, Paul, I have to ask you, who is Paul?
I am a avid consumer of hookah. I help run the Facebook group, Hookah University, with Jeremy, Bird, Travis Leader, and Wayne Gonzalez. We have a couple mods, they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, Bob, Bracken, Tony.
They're all right.
And that's kind of me in a gist, man. I like buying the hookah products. I think it's a good time to be an enthusiast. So, what else is there to do? Like promote community, promote some friendships, go out and travel with some friends.
Very cool. Very cool stuff. All right. So now that we know who Paul is, I want to ask you, what is your hookah story? How did you get into this bizarre hobby that we all enjoy quite a bit, obviously? But how did you get into it?
So hookah for me started in 2004. This like November, December 2004. I was active duty in the Air Force. I was deployed in Iraq. We were doing and running convoys. Doing my job in the Air Force is surveying, geospatial analyst kind of person. So we go over there, capture points, and during that time frame, there was kind of nothing mapped out in Iraq, right? So we were going out mapping everything. I went to this base up north, northern Iraq, and a bunch of the Iraqi soldiers that we were deployed with, or that we were running the convoys with, every night they would set up a hookah, and for a 18-year-old guy, I didn't know what it was. Everybody thought they were smoking weed or whatever, but turns out they were smoking Nakla Double Apple. Right, so I got to try some, and I was like, "Oh, this is good. This is kind of cool." And then I was like, "I want a souvenir from my time here." And we ran into they had a little shop on base, and a guy there was making hookahs. Right, he was casting them from leftover like aluminum and other parts that he would find on just laying around in the desert. He would melt the metal and cast it. So he made me a hookah. I brought it home. I used it for like a month, and then it rusted, and I couldn't do anything else with it. But that's how I started. Pretty simple, I think.
Okay. So did you when you came back to America and you kept wanting to like smoke hookah and stuff like that? Did you like get into like Chinese knockoff hookahs and like quick lights and
For
stuff
sure,
like that too?
dude. So there's a place in San Francisco called the Hate Street.
Okay.
Okay, it's called Hate Street. If you look it up in the '70s, it was very popular, like the hippie central in San Francisco. They had a lot of protests and stuff there. They had a hookah lounge there that sold hookahs. I think Raul actually used to go there very frequently, and I'm surprised we never really ran into to each other during that time frame. But they had smoke shops there all the time. They had some Chinese hookahs, and that's why I bought. I think the second one that I bought was this blue Chinese hookah with two hoses, and that lasted me maybe another 2 years until what 2007. I think
Now,
2007 was when Hookah John came out, right?
was
Before
it like
that, I was buying stuff off of Sahara Smoke and Hookah Dash Shisha, and those are like the only two websites. And or Hookah Hookah was another website that was still around.
Yep.
So I was buying stuff from those guys, and
Yeah.
they didn't last very long. Like it was
No.
kind of just like they were all Chinese stuff. It was the only things available at the time, and I was on the cheap, man. I was 18 years old. I couldn't afford anything super fancy, so that's what I was smoking all the way up until I got a KM.
This double hose Chinese hookah, was it like the titular pumpkin hookah that everyone gets for their first hookah? Or
No,
was
so
it something
mine
bigger?
it was bigger. I wanted a big one. So mine was like huge.
Yeah.
It was like 2 feet tall, common chamber. It sucked. And then
Well, that's good. They're supposed to suck. That's how
Yeah.
hookah works.
yeah, I definitely went through the paces of like, oh, you can only smoke quick lights, and then I was like, what is this natural charcoal stuff? I definitely went through the paces of like hookah advancement throughout the years. So gas station hookahs it was for me.
Also, if you guys have a question in the chat, make sure to drop a question mark inside of it so that we can quickly see those as well. I am watching the chat kind of go a little bit here and there. So if you guys have a question that you'd like us to ask for any reason, just let us know, and we'll be able to ask those questions. But I think we got some more questions for Paul.
Yeah, hit me
Don't
up.
we, Adrian?
I think we have a ton of questions for Paul. Are we done with audience source questions? Did we even start that? Where am I? I'm just listening to Paul talk.
Yeah, I'm just kind of
Paul.
quipping.
I got a question for you.
What is up?
I'm assuming Matt wants to do this chronologically in the list of things we have in this breaking the fourth wall notes we're reading off of. What do you like to smoke, Paul? And what do you like to smoke now? And how is that? What did you start with when you kind of got into maybe the groups or whatever, the forums, wherever you started? Tell me about the evolution too.
The evolution? Okay, so that's interesting. I started off with a lot of Nakla. And it ended up like Nakla was for me was like maybe 6 months, right? And then it was like too strong for me. It was too much nicotine. I couldn't handle it. So I found what was it, Fantasia. I found Fantasia,
Yeah.
and Fantasia Purple Haze was like my go-to for a couple of years.
I loved that for a minute.
Yeah, and then it was like Starbuzz, like the original line, right? Because when like 2005, I think was when Blue Mist got really popular.
Yep.
And that's kind of when they came out too. So I was smoking a lot of that, and then the local smoke shop near my house over at the 99 Ranch, is like a Oriental store. They sold little 25-gram little things in like to go like ketchup packets. And ended up it was Fumari. So I was smoking Fumari for a long time. They just like took it out of the package and renamed it to whatever they wanted. So I was smoking that. From there, Tangiers came out. I smoked a little bit of Tangiers back when they first came out. I think Eric was still selling him from his garage at that point. I found that through the forums. I wasn't very active through the forums, by the way. It was kind of just like I saw stuff and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'll go pick it up. And then after that, it was kind of just like YouTube research, right? They had reviewers back then too, like Hookah Frank and all these other guys that would show you how to pack stuff. So like I picked up Tangiers, started smoking it back then. Couldn't get it to smoke really well until maybe 2011, 2012. And that's kind of the evolution of it. Now I smoke everything, right? Like some of the older lines, over time, my taste has evolved to where I kind of taste the chemicals that are in there. So I've been kind of going towards more the natural stuff. And I'm still fairly sensitive to like red dye and some of the more chemically like notes of like Starbucks original line and Starbucks bold line. But I'll still smoke them. I smoke everything. I mean, if you guys haven't seen my collection at all, I have almost every brand, at least a little bit of something.
What's
Because
some
I feel
of the
like
more
they fit in something, and you can always mix them in something where you can adjust the taste.
What's some of the more interesting things that you've been able to try? I know you've tried a lot of Russian tobaccos. I know you're a big fan of dark side tobacco. I know you tried Pulse tobacco and stuff like that as well. What's some of the more interesting things that you've been able to try?
Some of the more interesting things. So Element from Russia has this one called calamansi. Well, calamansi is a little like green, tarty fruit. Almost like it's citrusy, but it's almost like a key lime. Right? It's almost like a key lime, and in the Philippines, when you ask for lime or lemon or anything like that, they give you calamansi, right? Because they just grow kind of wild everywhere. And that flavor, they hit it spot on. I thought they even got like the bitterness of like the calamansi seeds in there. Some of the other things I think that are interesting is Adalia is making a comeback, and I didn't think I would like a lot of their flavors just because one, it's red dye. Two, it's catered more towards the lounge goer kind of tobacco, but like their Hawaii pineapple flavor is amazing.
Yeah, their
Have you
Hawaii
had their
flavor's very good.
they've got a I don't know if they still make it. This is a lounge favorite of mine from like a couple years ago. They had this flavor, I think it's called double melon. And that
Double
was
melon.
it was actually incredible. And I'm trying to find it again because
I don't
it's just
have
like
that
a,
one.
it's
I
like a
have one
watermelon
here.
cantaloupe.
Really, I think I have one here, but it's called Blue Melon. I'm not sure if they just renamed it or it might be the
That's
same
totally possible. I'm not sure. This is
I
a
have
while
double
ago.
melon.
I think I have
one.
double
Oh, you have
melon,
double melon. Okay.
I haven't smoked it yet, but I have it.
Yeah,
if
me
I don't like
neither.
it, I'll send it to you, Adrian.
All right, very
Yeah.
cool. We have a question coming in from the chat from our good friend Captain Wetbeard. He asked, "What's your favorite bowl to use with Tangiers?" But we're actually going to talk about that once we get into the Tangiers talk. So we're going to push that question aside. I just want you to know that we are monitoring the chat and we do see what you guys are talking about and asking and stuff. So like I said, if you guys have a question that you want to ask, make sure to drop it in there. And as long as we're not going to talk about it eventually, then we will definitely ask that question right here on air as well. What about you, Bracken? Do you have any questions for Paul?
Certainly. So, Paul, you talked about the evolution of flavors. I think we can all say we started at one brand or a couple brands and venture towards other brands. I know you said you smoke everything. Do you actually still smoke any of those old flavors?
Sometimes it depends on the mix, right? Like sometimes I think
Are there
I
old
would
like Fumari flavors that, or maybe
Chai.
maybe not Fumari. Fumari kind of still has a good standing. Maybe are there any old Fantasia flavors or any old Starbucks flavors that
Careful.
you'll
So
like?
sometimes I do a punishment bowl because like
careful,
so
yeah.
Fantasia for me still has a place with like maybe somebody has just started hookah. They won't
For
be able
sure,
to
for
taste
sure. I
the
understand
chemical
that.
flavors and stuff. But for me, I taste the chemicalness of it.
Yeah.
Right. So but sometimes I want to be like, hey, can I still smoke this stuff? And is it still relevant in my palate?
Yeah.
So I still have some like Fantasia Lotus and Fantasia Purple Haze lying around.
Because I'm sure
And-
there's still a few flavors that Fantasia has in their queue that might like meet my palate, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, like, what is it? They had that $1 million flavor, and like Dragon's Breath, and those type of
I
flavors.
smoked the heck out of Dragon's Breath.
Yeah, I liked it, and I liked Blue Surfer, right? And it was like, sometimes if I'm mixing something and I want to go old school, you can do that. I'd still smoke it.
So when you started smoking, be honest, did you use chopsticks?
Yes.
So yeah, have you been using? Because I know you started, and a lot of other people in the community use chopsticks as well. But I think you were in my circle of influence. You were probably one of the first individuals I saw continuously, avidly using a pair of chopsticks to help you pack your bowls. And it wasn't something that I've seen. I didn't grow up in a family that chopsticks were a utensil that we use.
Yeah.
We use forks and knives. But how long have you been doing this chopstick pack?
Dude, I think since I started, because that stuff is like sticky. I never like touching it with my hands ever.
Yeah, never.
Right,
never.
and then like oyster forks didn't really become super popular with packing until Tangiers came out.
Yeah.
So like every time I had gotten a pack of something, I would always use chopsticks.
You're the person who I use chopsticks for like most blonde brands now, and you were the exclusive reason that I started doing that.
I didn't even start it. There was a YouTube guy. I don't remember his name, but there was a YouTube guy that I saw somebody doing it, packing it with like Hookah Freak tobacco, like in 2006 or something. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Because before that, I think I was using a spoon.
A spoon. Oh, you know what? I have used a spoon for. Do you remember Steam Stones? Do you remember those?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I
Regretfully, I remember that.
Totally used a spoon when I used to pack. I didn't stay on Steam Stones for very long. I tried the alt smoking stuff back in the day and all that kind of stuff, obviously. But
you ever try the creams?
I never tried the creams. I always wanted to, but I never tried the creams.
They're
creams,
weird.
The creams legitimately frighten me because, like, in my mind,
it's
I'm like
jelly. It's so weird.
What weird after effect is going to happen when I put this gelatin substance and heat it up? Like, in my mind, it's like, okay, I know smoking causes cancer, so like, general's warning: don't smoke if you're pregnant and have a heart condition, whatever. But like, definitely don't smoke putty.
I couldn't do Dude, I couldn't even do the putty, man, because it looked like Gak.
Yeah,
oh my
Nickelodeon Gak, like the little toy that used to, like, it was in the 90s. It looked like that, and I couldn't
buy
do
it. I couldn't buy the stuff. I was like, that for sure gives you cancer, and if not, like, you'll grow an arm in your throat or something.
Something fucked up, because there's no way the science is kosher on that.
Well, there's also there's Gak and there's putty and there's Steam Stones, and then there is actual jelly too. Like there's gel that came out as well. And I thought that stuff was weird because like I've seen gel made with like candles and stuff like that. So like that stuff always kind of like crossed the line of like, I don't know if I want to mess with the jelly stuff. That just
I'll put that in the same category as like, you'll definitely get cancer from smoking these things.
Or worse.
But you guys got to remember, like, the time that these things came out in, the only like funnel type bowl that we had was like that Vortex one, right?
Yeah.
Or unless you were using a freaking Dragon Flip or something.
Well, unless you're using one of those like OG Tangiers bowls. Shout out to Eric from Tangiers for inventing Tangiers.
I got one of those.
The funnel bowl concept.
Yep.
But and that always scared the mess out of me.
And then there was the Chinese funnels too, which were terrible because they were hollow and cheaply made, and they were just garbage back in the day. Oh man, that's just a trip down memory lane. All right, so one more question for you, Paul, and then we'll get into talking about some Tangiers stuff going on. But what do you feel about your role in the hookah community? How do you feel about what you have going on as an admin over at Hookah University, as a very, everybody thinks of you as a friend inside the community and stuff like that. How do you feel about your role in the hookah community?
My role in the hookah community, I think, is just kind of promoting positive content. Right. Kind of no allegations kind of thing. Just like kind of like positive content where you can just continue to talk about hookah and what hookah is. Right. That's what I like to do. That's what I like to talk about. I get trolly sometimes. Everybody does. Everybody has a breaking point, but it is what it is. I think my role right now is to just promote like active consumerism within the hookah tobacco, like the hookah communities, and like, hey, everybody here is a consumer. What does a consumer like to do? And kind of just like, take a step back a little bit and be like, look at things at a macroscopic level instead of a microscopic level where I'm dissecting things and their nuances like too anally. Like I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
I want to be able to be like, hey, here's a new tobacco. Let's talk about it and just have the discussion.
I like that. I think
Right.
that's a great
I
way.
love that question. Why are you important?
No,
Yeah,
it's not why.
I don't.
are
I
you
don't think I am.
important?
Like I can take a step back right now, and the community will still drive forward wherever it's going to go.
Raul says he never trolls. He's only ever serious. So anytime you think he may be trolling, it turns out he's actually being very serious. So always remember that and think about that the next time you see a post from Raul. This is going to kind of go off of the last question just a little bit, but I didn't write this one down. I didn't think of it until just now. But me and you we've had many conversations about these sort of ideas about microscopic instead of microscopic and stuff like that. And we've had conversations about density and the terminology that we use when it comes to hookah tobacco and stuff like that. I thought this would be maybe a fun time to talk about that on a little bit deeper of a level. But like, what do you? So you have talked many times about not using the terminology as not using the terminology of, I should say, of density, but using the terminology of compression, and why you think that is such a good term. Do you mind going into that just a little bit as to why you like
Sure.
the terminology of compression?
So density is a volumetric measurement of weight,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
First off, like the definition doesn't really fit with what we're doing packing a hookah tobacco unless we are talking about like grams per bowl. So like coming from kind of like a engineering background a little bit and having to do I don't know, like a couple of papers here and there about actual compaction and asphalt compaction, soil compaction, and all that other stuff. Especially like, like portion of my job in the Air Force is we do airfields, right? And we do this thing called it's a density ratio, pretty much, right? So when the term started getting really popular, I never really agreed with it because I was like, it doesn't really say what you're trying to do with the tobacco. What we're trying to do with the tobacco is either like compress it, like squish it down, right? If we're talking about
Yeah.
like say 25 grams of tobacco into a bowl and you're squishing it down as hard as you can, well, you're compressing it, aren't you? You're going from
Right.
no compression all the way down to maximum compression, which is 100%.
And that's all encompassing too, right? Because that can be applied across all different lines and brands of tobaccos, different cuts and stuff, where the word density doesn't necessarily apply the same to all different types of tobacco. It's going to have different
Yes.
context.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So I think like just from a consumer standpoint too, as a guy that was just like, hey, I wasn't really active in the community. When people are talking about density, in my head personally, it popped off differently. So I was like, well, and then I had to associate it, and I was like, oh, they're talking about compression. And then I had to associate it. I was like, what is this normal? What is normal? Give me a numerator for normal,
Mm-hmm.
right? What do you mean by normal? Again, then everybody has all these different like descriptors of normal. I was like, well, all you're telling me is you're compressing at 50%. It's a halfway point between 0 and 100. And I was like, why don't you just say 50% compression? It's easy.
Yeah, once me and you started talking about it a little bit more heavily one time, I remember like it was like a light bulb that like clicked on my head personally, where I was like, that is exactly what we're doing. We are literally compressing this. We are pushing it down. We are taking it at a level of 0, just like you're saying, and we are pushing it down to an X amount of compression. And I just love that. It's honestly changed the way that I look at packing my bolts.
It makes it weird too, because I like the idea of making something that can be infinitely complex. Not as complex as it, a lot of people assume that it is. And it seems like you're starting to split hairs when you talk about like compaction. It's weird because it seems like you almost have to make things more complex to make them simpler. Like when you're talking about compaction, because everyone knows what the word normal means, kind of, because it varies from person to person.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's weird. It's a super weird topic. But I think if everyone were to agree and adopt that terminology, and we would just all know what everyone's talking about all the time. Like, oh yeah, compress it to like 50%. Oh, well, that means the same thing across all fields.
In
There's
all
no, like-
bowls too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because like you can have a bowl with different sizes and different depths, and you're like, hey, how do I pack it on this bowl? And it's just
Right.
put it like 75% compaction. So
Yeah, you're
what,
not
like,
fluff packing an alien bowl, so that term doesn't exactly work.
Yeah, I really enjoy the terminology of compression. If you guys have never used that before, if you've never heard that before, definitely check out Hookah University. They talk about it quite a bit there. I think it's a really good way to talk about it when it comes to packing bowls. It's the terminology that I've kind of switched to when I do reviews and stuff like that. I think it's a really good way to conversate and to get through to somebody, especially like a newer smoker. I feel like that kind of terminology is even better because you're able to give them a line of where it is they need to cross, and I think that's important as well.
Just switch to the metric system. That's all you gotta do. Easy peasy.
I mean, there's a lot of smokers out there that are like, don't agree with us, and that's totally fine. You just keep using normal packs, semi-dense or whatever. I'm not gonna argue with you about that.
Yeah, if it makes sense to
if you're speaking to me personally, I'm probably gonna tell you 50% compaction.
If it makes sense to you, that's great. Like if it whatever works for you is gonna be the best thing that you use, right? Like something that we've gotten that's been said a lot lately, I feel like, is just like your bowl, your rules. Like smoke it the way that you like it, and if it's smoking well, then awesome for it. Like there's nothing wrong with finding something that works for you and continuing doing that. I think that is a very good way to look at things as well. But I think I think it's really cool terminology. I thought it'd be a good time to talk about it a little bit. I'd love to do a further deep dive into that as well. I think that'd be good to talk about. But let's go ahead and jump into our main topic of today's episode and get into the Tangiers talk. Tangiers, you know them, you love them, you've had great experiences, you've had maybe bad experiences. Maybe the first time you smoked it, it was like me, and I had a horrible first experience with Tangiers. I had a horrible first time that I ever smoked Tangiers. First time I smoked Tangiers, it was the root beer flavor from way back in the day. And it tasted, no, it was called root beer. They used to have a flavor that was just called root beer, and it tasted like garbage. It tasted so bad. It tasted like burning fire. I had a horrible session with it. I could not get it to smoke right. And then it wasn't until like months later that I tried, because I got this Tangiers in an order that I did, right? And it was when I still owned a hookah lounge, and I was like, oh, everyone's talking about Tangiers. Let's try this out, right? And I didn't know what I was doing, and I did not pack it right, and it was bad, and I never wanted to touch it again. And then I got some blue gumball, and I was looking up some, like, researching it, how to pack it better and stuff like that. And I finally got it to smoke really good, and I was like, man, this is amazing. And ever since then, like, I've always had a fondness in my heart for Tangiers. I've always had great sessions with it after I, figured it out and all that kind of stuff, obviously. But yeah, Tangiers is an interesting beast. Where did you guys start with Tangiers? Was it a good first experience for you guys? Was it not a good first experience for you guys? What about you, Adrian? How was your very first experience with Tangiers hookah tobacco?
I was on Facebook forums, not even forum, just Facebook generally, on different groups. And people, this is in my infancy of smoking hookah, and I saw people talking about Tangiers being like this awesome tobacco. And I thought to myself, yo, I've been smoking hookah for like 4 months. Let's do it. So I ordered some Tangiers. What was the flavor? That's a hard question. I can't even remember what the flavor was. I think it was some like maybe orange soda or something like that. And I didn't know how to pack it. I didn't know what they meant when they said dense. And it's easy to say dense, but to execute on it does take some muscle memory, I think. And it was just bad, man. I burnt the shit out of my throat. I was coughing. I was angry. I felt betrayed by the community. And it's weird. It's. I think most people generally have a somewhat negative first experience unless their hands held the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. I think
they're just like freaking geniuses, which I am not.
Maybe that happens. I don't know. What about you, Bracken? What was your very first experience with Tangiers? Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? Did you know what you were doing?
I had an amazing first experience with Tangiers.
What?
Yeah. But I think Adrian kind of hit the nail on the head because I got into hookah with some friends that didn't know what Tangiers were, and I got onto the Reddit community, our hookah, back in the day. I really don't know what's going on over there now, but back, 4 years ago, I was really active. It was a really fun place. I learned a whole lot, and I actually met somebody in my university. We went to college together. We lived 3 blocks away, right? And his username on our hookah used to be Tangiers. All right. And I was like, yo, tell me what's it about? And so eventually he had to change it because Tangiers was like, yo, that's our name. We want it. He let him have it, I think. But it was out of an Elmas 350 with one of those OG Turkish hoses which I just call like the whale dick hose.
They're huge, yes.
And
they're like this big.
Yeah, but it was like one of the OG ones. It had It had the leather wrapping in it, and it was really cool. It was dark plum, and it was packed in and this is like kicking it back. It was packed in a Crown Micro.
Oh boy.
So Crown used to be
yeah,
a
those are
glass blown hookah.
Oh man, you just brought me back to
accessory.
Hookah Pro days.
Yeah, so like Hookah Pro, Hookah Forums, it was, but they don't make them anymore. And at the very end, they didn't really make them the same way that they used to. But essentially, it was a bowl with it was like a tiny bowl, and it held probably the same amount as like a Alien or maybe a small Surrey nowadays, except it had a giant glass marble in the middle. And the holes, there were 5 holes, and they were around the outside. They were around the rim.
Dude, I
Yeah,
got
man.
one.
Right. And so
Send it.
there was one coal. It was an old titanium. It was not when it was before the days of titanium. It was a
Chronix.
Chronix, back when Chronix were decent.
Chronix hook. Oh my gosh.
Right. And I remember going over, and it was dark plum, and I smoked it, and I was like, yo, first of all, that's really restricted, but it's really pretty. What is this? And my buddy was like, yo, this is Tangiers. And I was like, I have to have some. So I went out and I bought a kilo of it. I bought this bowl. This is a Tangiers Pico Bowl OG. I didn't really know what I was getting into because this has the world's smallest spire hole
Yeah, it
ever.
does.
Imagine like sucking out of 4 coffee straws. That's the draw. And I was like, yo, this is the best ever. I love this. And that's how I learned Tangiers, was on this little bowl on like really nice Turkish pipes. And yeah, and I had a buddy.
I got a blue one.
He taught me how to pack them. So like I never went through the whole trial and error as much as like someone who picks up Tangiers and doesn't quite understand what it is when they first start. But
Yo, everybody's bringing out the Tangiers bowl.
I
wanna go get mine.
definitely can say that my first Tangiers experience was ground shaking, because I think before that I was smoking Fantasia
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
and
god.
like maybe some
Eye-opening.
Alfaca and some Nakala.
We have some
And-
wonderful experiences in the chat right now. I just want to point out real quick. Like David Harris says, my first experience was a nightmare. Bilu says that Tangiers is a Fugazi. He says Fugazi Tangiers. Derek Moses says that him and Devin, one of the first times they smoked, says Devin and I couldn't get up from the couch one of the first times, which is just fantastic. Captain Whippert says, my first experience. Oh, there's that Crown Micro right there. That's beautiful. Oh my god.
Imagine that bowl, but
Oh my
half
gosh.
the size.
Yeah, the micro is so much smaller. Like, and it
You
only
know how
has.
long this took me to get clean?
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
You gotta soak it. You have to soak
Oh my
it
God.
in OxyClean.
Yeah,
Cap-
that's what I did.
Captain Wetbeard says, my first experience with Tangiers was wonderful. I went to a local lounge with the intention of buying my first packs of Tangiers along with my tobacco. The owner convinced me to buy Tang and a funnel. There's just some great stories happening right now. Captain Whitbeard says, I think Matt's first experience with Tangiers was with fake Tangiers. No, it was legitimate Tangiers. It really was. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. Some fantastic stories going on in the chat right now. Tangiers is one of those things where it either hits or it doesn't. What about you, Paul? What was your first experience with Tangiers? Was it a good experience or was it
Tangiers,
not?
my first experience with Tangiers was terrible.
Oh.
Man, it was a cane mint was what I bought.
Oh man.
It took me but here's the thing, I was stubborn, right? I was like, I'm gonna get this smoke well.
Yeah.
So I literally took I think about 250, maybe 500, and I had a HJ Harmony at the time and one of the Tangiers bowls, and I would pack them in every conceivable way. Like I went from like no compaction all the way down to like density just to try to figure this thing out. I remember going through like 6 bowls in a day, and I was like, I'm gonna get this to work.
Oh my
Playing
gosh.
with like different coals and different things. But it was terrible, yeah. And I was the same way. It was like I was in my couch and I couldn't get up, and the buzz was like too strong, and I thought I got hookah sickness, and all kinds of stuff. But
Funny story about Tangiers. I don't know who remembers it exactly. Maybe Paul, maybe Bracken, maybe Adrian as well. We never used to refer to Tangiers as dark leaf tobacco. We never ever called it that. The reason why it's dark leaf is because it's blackstrap molasses, and that's why it's dark, because it's just, if you wash it, it comes out blonde or brown or whatever. We always referred to it as unwashed tobacco, and that's why you would get such a heavy buzz from it, because things like Fantasia and Starbuzz and Alfacher, those are all washed tobaccos. Before they're infused with their flavor and stuff like that and put to packaging, they're washed, and they wash a lot of that nicotine out, so it's a lot less of a nicotine hit, where Tangiers was not a washed tobacco, and that's why it would give you such a heavy-hitting buzz. And it's funny that terminology of dark leaf tobacco has become such a prevalent used term, because it doesn't really mean anything. Like, we're referring
Tangiers,
to...
like, Tangiers started a niche in the market
that it didn't even need to.
That it's not even a part of.
Yeah.
Like, if you go and wash some of your other dark leaves, they are dark.
Yeah.
But a Tangiers, like, it turns golden brown.
Yeah.
And if you wash it... Adrian, you're muted, by the way.
Duh. No, I spent my first entire 6 months enjoying Tangiers, just like fully being on the, man, I like dark leaf tobacco boat. I'd never even had one. I'd never had a dark leaf tobacco. I think my first dark leaf tobacco experience was with Trifecta.
Yeah, that's Virginia tobacco as well. Like, that is also blonde leaf tobacco. Like, it is just Virginia tobacco. It's just blackstrap molasses that changes the color to being dark.
Is there even such a thing as a dark leaf?
Technically, there
not. Is.
Technically, it's because of the way that it's cured. The only thing that makes tobacco dark is the way that it's cured.
Yes. So the dark, like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but we had a guy on university. He's a local guy over here where I'm at. His name is Sham. He's a tobacconist apprentice. And he kind of went over, because he went and visited all these tobacco farms and stuff, and kind of went over the curing processes of all the different tobaccos and the things that are popular to use with shisha, right? And he says, like, actual dark leaf needs to be cured and smoked to get that actual dark color in it. So I think we do have maybe a couple of brands that are out there I can name that are actually true dark leaf tobacco brands.
KFC?
One is like KFC from Alchemist, because that's actually Kentucky Fried Cured, which is a dark leaf. It turns into an actual dark leaf. And WTO uses some dark leaves in their blends. And I think that's about it. Everything else is kind of blackstrap molasses unwashed.
Yeah. So it's just funny how that's kind of turned into a terminology that we use, and it doesn't always mean what it is that it says, but it does, because it is using it is a dark leaf tobacco in the sense that it is dark when you
I'm
put
okay
it
with
in
calling it dark.
I have no issue with it either. I just think
looks dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not.
I
don't have
care.
a problem with calling like it. Hey, this thing has blackstrap molasses. It looks dark. Let's call it dark leaf.
But the
It's
reason
strong,
why you
it's
get a
unwashed,
buzz,
that's fine.
The reason why you get a buzz is from the washed or unwashedness of tobacco. That's what causes that buzz that you get.
Do they wash Trifecta Dark?
I don't believe they do. It's unwashed. Trifecta Dark is unwashed.
Do they wash Azur's Dark Leaf?
They do not wash Azur's Dark Leaf. So Ugly tobacco is the best example of this, because Ugly is referred to as a blonde leaf.
Not blackstrap molasses.
Exactly.
Tobacco.
That's the thing. Is that's
Especially
the whole thing.
Older iteration.
Old Ugly would put you in the couch, not on the ground, in the couch.
Yeah.
Then they kind of tweaked it, but
yeah, exactly.
Fully like on board with bring back Old Ugly.
So David Harris just says, the nightmare of my first experience with extreme K-Mint out of an Eggy. The dude made a foil saver and essentially a grenade pack. My stomach was in pain for days.
Oh no.
A good friend of ours, Sally, the Shisha Savage, has a pretty good story about the first time she smoked Tangiers as well, where she thought she could just fluff pack it like normal. And she was like dying, and she like almost gave herself nicotine poisoning. It was a really bad story. It's not a good story. It's not funny for haha funny, but it's funny to look back at it now because she's
now
alive.
that we're used
Well,
to
you could
Tangiers,
definitely fluff Tangiers.
Yeah,
it's gonna give you a different smoke.
Yes. You gotta be careful.
Now that we're used to it, we can fluff it and we can play around with it because we've built up a little bit of a tolerance.
Yeah, I used to pack Tangiers way down, like the recommended way to do it, like in the old Hookah John videos. If anyone's ever seen those,
with the foil and you push it down and then you stretch the foil back.
The point where I brought it down to like I would say 60% compaction. Like I can bring it back to there for more buzz and a slightly different flavor profile, and that's almost my my preferred method at this point. But it's stronger. The throat hit is a real thing.
The throat hit is what kills me.
We
I
had
love-
I did it the other day and I couldn't do it.
We had a question in the chat, and I can't see who it was from exactly, but they wanted to talk about airing out the tobacco. And
Bilu.
is it Bilu? Okay, so Bilu was asking about airing out the tobacco, and I wanted to touch on this real quick because it's not as commonly done today as it used to be done, but there used to be this thing called acclimating your Tangiers, where
I still do that.
you got to remember that
I do
Tangiers
too.
is created in a very dry heat environment in Arizona, and before that it was in a dry heat in San Diego. And a lot of times when it would make its way over to like more of those humid type climates, people are having a lot of problems with smoking it properly. I haven't noticed this. I live in a more of a dry heat, kind of in Idaho, more of a desert-y in comparison to some people, obviously. But I never had to acclimate it in any way. Every once in a while, I'd get a batch. And you need to acclimate your tobacco if you smell it and it smells like barbecue sauce or soy sauce.
I haven't come across this yet.
Okay, so if you do, if anyone is
2017
And I
was,
smoke a lot of Tangiers.
if anybody ever comes across any tobacco of Tangiers that smells like soy sauce or barbecue sauce, let it air out for a couple of days. And the way that I used to air it out, because I did this thinking that that's what I had to do in the very beginning, I would open it up, I'd put it in one of my containers that I would have, and I would leave it completely open, and I would let it acclimate to your environment, basically, it was the idea behind it. But now Tangiers is made inside of air-conditioned facilities. Like, it's not something that people talk about anymore, and I don't know if it does or doesn't need to be talked about anymore. Adrian, you said you've never needed to do it. Have you ever done it to do it?
I have. When
Okay.
I started, I was under the impression
Okay.
you had to.
Okay.
So, but the way I did it is I would roll out a big old fat sheet of Reynolds heavy duty, and I would dump the entire container on there, and I'd fan it out, dude. And I'd like flip it, I'd like, turn it once every few hours. And then
You would
one day I
toss?
decided not to do it, and I've wasted time. Because it was good. I opened it, I packed them, this is fucking great. What's the problem? I don't know if it's a Michigan thing or if I'm lucky, but I have never come across that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I acclimate.
You do
Yeah,
acclimate it?
I am
I do.
team acclimation.
It depends on the flavor of Tangiers, because some flavors are stronger than the others,
Mhm.
and some flavors are alcohol based to get that whatever flavor it is out. So I found that alcohol based flavoring, like Blue Gumball 2.0, is
Yes.
alcohol
Blue
flavored.
Gumball used to have a
Okay,
heavy
so
alcohol smell.
You
to it.
have to let that air out. You have to get the alcohol out and the alcohol like smell out. Otherwise, you're going to be tasting it when you smoke it. So Blue Gumball for me, when it first came out last year, I opened it and I let it air out. Right, I actually forgot about it, and then 2 months later, I was like, oh shit, this has been out the entire time. Smoked it and it smoked fine. But when I had first gotten it, because like what I like to do is I like to smoke a bowl right off the bag, right,
Mhm.
and then let it air out and do its thing and smoke it again, like maybe two days later, maybe
To
the next
compare it.
day to see if the taste has changed. That happened to me with cherry limeade on this recent batch.
Interesting.
Where the cherry was very prominent, more so than the lime. When I first had it, right off the bag, right, the cherry was more prominent than lime. Let it sit down, and then I smoked it again 2 days later, and I started tasting the lime,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
But you necessarily won't get that with like say orange soda.
So
It really also depends on the flavor saturation of the Tangiers that you get.
moist.
Right.
Yeah,
Some-
I would agree
some
with
bags-
that somewhat, but for me, I used to acclimate with the impression, and this is maybe a little bit different from what everybody's saying, of kind of bringing it up to the humidity level or the climate where you're smoking it in. I always thought that was part of it, but the other reason I was understanding that you needed to acclimate it was you had to redistribute and renormalize the liquids and the flavorings throughout the tobacco, so that you had a continuous spectrum of every leaf was the same
Coated.
amount of saturation. So when I first started smoking Tangiers, get it in the package, cut it open, squeeze it out into a container, and I would do a 420 method, right? And it was the 24-hour acclimation process, where it was 4 hours of being open and being stirred every hour, and then 20 hours with the lid on, slightly open.
Okay.
So that's how I learned how to acclimate my Tangiers. And in the beginning, I would sometimes, like Paul said, depending on flavors, I would sometimes get a soy sauce, or I would sometimes get a barbecue sauce. And after that 20 and 4, it would go away. Then I watched a video from Smoker Pass back in the day.
I was
He
going to
doesn't
bring
make
this
videos
up.
as
Yes.
much as he used
yes.
to.
Okay.
And he kind of discovered, and I don't know if he discovered it or if someone else did and introduced him to it, but this cheat of instant acclimation, if you will. And I do this to this day. I've done this for the past 3 years, and it works like a charm. Every tobacco I get from Tangiers, I open it up out of the initial wrap. I leave it in the vacuum seal, and I will mush it around and play with it for 10 minutes and just continue to mush it all the way around and just try and massage the tobacco.
Yeah.
Then what I do is I squish it all back down to the bottom, cut it, scrape it out, and I'll leave it open and I'll stir it some more. You know, I still acclimate my shisha for, if I can, an hour. If I'm in a rush, 30 minutes. I really like to give it that hour. You know, and it's kind of, I think it might still be a bro science thing, like shiny side down.
It's 100% bro science.
But at the end of the day, every single one of my flavors, when I pack them, is ready to smoke. I don't get alcohol or soy sauce or barbecue anymore. And I do the same thing every time, and it just works.
We all smoke hookah, which means I'm a rituals guy. I like rituals.
Yeah.
And acclimating Tangiers can be a ritual. So whether it works or
Yeah,
not,
for sure.
sessions, fuck it.
Yeah, I wish that I lived on a different coast, so I had like a better knowledge if this is something that I would have to go through. But like I said, I've never had the need to really do that sort of stuff. It's funny because Moyes was just talking about his cherry limeade that he has. He said it smelled like rubbing alcohol, and you know, I don't know. Like mine smells just like this wonderful melody of cherry and lime. Like I used to get these Sprite limeade cherry drinks at this one place, and it smells and tastes exactly like that. Like it's one of the most enjoyable flavors that I've ever smoked from Tangiers. This cherry limeade is just fantastic.
You like the cherry though. You like maraschino cherry. From
I
Tangiers,
do like
don't
maraschino
you?
cherry quite a bit. Yes, I do.
You guys
think-
reading the chat?
I don't know.
I am a little
Not
bit. Yeah.
really.
I think the funniest thing that was said though was Robert Pope. He creates his own tobacco called Bobo Backer, and the thing that he said is Bobo Backer will alchemate your air. It'll
That's like a Russian
No,
thing.
his backer is like the Chuck Norris of tobacco.
Yeah.
It is.
It doesn't.
I have some. It's delicious.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So I don't know. Like people say you
Bobo
have to
backer can
alchemate.
divide by 0.
People say you don't like infinity.
Yeah.
Oh
It
my
has-
gosh. So let's get back on track to actually talking about some other Tangiers stuff. I thought it'd be fun for us to go off of our top 5 Tangiers flavors with like maybe 2 honorable mentions. I'll go ahead and kick it off just so I can get it out of the way and we can move on to everybody else's real quick. So my first honorable mention is actually K Guava. It's cashmere guava, and the reason why I like this flavor is because it tastes a lot like guava, and I love the guava from Tangiers. It's super creamy. It has this wonderful, delicious taste to it, and the cashmere is not very powerful in cashmere guava, and that's what I like about it because I used to only smoke guava from Tangiers. That's all I would smoke all the time, and then they would like run out of it, and I'd want to order, but they didn't have it, so I would get cashmere guava in replace of it, obviously, and that's why it's an honorable mention because it's basically just guava for me. My second honorable mention is a new flavor that I'm really enjoying a ton, which is Summer Resort, and if you guys haven't had this, I highly recommend it. It is cucumber, and it is fantastic, and it is one of the best Tangiers flavors I've ever had. It's almost more impressive than the other flavors in a lot of ways, but I don't know, it's just really good. I really enjoy it a lot. The cucumber is really good. Number 5 is another new flavor from Tangiers. It's the how do you pronounce this? Is it Leviathan?
Leviathan.
Leviathan,
Like
yes.
the mythical creature.
Okay, Leviathan. It is a sage and lavender with a little bit of mint. It's really good. It's tasty. It's very earthy. It's very strong. Once again, I think it's really good. My number 4 all-time flavor is peach cobbler because it's one of the best peaches and cream flavor I've ever had in my life. I think it's an underrated Tangiers flavors. Not enough people talk about this flavor in my opinion. It's really, really good. The next one is Summer Solstice Celebration. I like this flavor a lot because once again, it's heavy in the guava taste, and I love the guava from Tangiers. It's guava, watermelon, maybe a little bit of kiwi, depending on if you taste it or not, I guess. But I just think it's a really good, really bright flavor. It's really good. And then number 2 is actually going to be this cherry limeade right here. I just absolutely love it. It's too damn good. You got to get the cherry limeade. It's fantastic. And then my number 1 all-time favorite Tangiers tobacco. Everybody probably knows this about me already. I'm sure you guys can all guess it. On the count of 3, let's all say it. 1, 2, 3.
Static Starlight.
Static
Static
Starlight.
Damn it.
Yes. Static Starlight.
I
Absolutely.
thought it was Kin Mint.
No,
No, you don't know Matt very well.
Static
Well, I knew
Starlight
Static Starlight had to be there somewhere.
is my favorite all-time
I feel like
flavor.
Matt likes Static Star, but so much it's not even ranked. It's just like on a level of its
on a
own.
different
shouldn't.
level. Yeah.
He has to rank the rest of them because
my
it's
God.
just already there.
It really was. I put that there without any hesitation.
Tangiers,
at
if
all.
you're looking to sponsor the podcast,
Please.
Matt accepts metric tons of Static Starlight.
I will do lots of things that I shouldn't say on air for Static Starlight. It's so damn good. I love that flavor
Spray
so
him
much.
on air though.
If you don't know what Static Starlight is, it is a rose and black grape, and it is the best Tangiers flavor, hands down.
I also love the aesthetic of ketchup all over roses.
Not even close.
It doesn't taste like ketchup.
At all. At
I'm-
all.
Can I just meme for a second, Bracken, without you fucking up my tempo?
Listen, you can talk about gazpacho all you want, but
Yo, sometimes that stuff is good.
All right, let's let our guest take over and give us his top 5 Tangiers flavors with his honorable mentions.
Should I start?
As well?
Okay, honorable mentions.
You go
from
wherever you
bottom.
want to. You take this however you want to take it.
Shoot. Okay, honorable mentions first. I think I would say mime
Ooh,
or
good
meme,
one. Good one, yeah.
right? That one's good. I had a hard time differentiating it from New Lemon Lime for a little bit, but now I can tell the difference. And I was like, oh, okay, I like this.
I like
yeah.
this a lot.
Speaking of which, number 5, New Lemon Lime.
Ooh, good one.
Oh.
Okay, I like that one. It's a good mixer for me. It's good by itself when I want something very crisp and citrusy, with the blackstrap. Like so, just so you guys know my palate a little bit, I like the blackstrap molasses, and sometimes they have a place in the mixes for me. So I think the blackstrap molasses Tangiers specifically gives you a different type of deepness when you're smoking. There's a heaviness to the smoke, and I like that. So
Okay.
you don't necessarily get that with like some of the non-blackstrap molasses type flavors. So mime's honorable mention, New Lemon Lime, papaya sorbet, number 4.
Ooh, so good. So good.
Papaya sorbet is number 4. It's I smoked maybe 500 of that right when it came out. Pink grapefruit, number 3.
That was almost on my list. I just want to say that I love pink grapefruit as well, and that was a close one to be on my list. I just did not put it there, but that is a fantastic. I don't think it's as good as I remember it being for me personally. That's why I couldn't put it back on the list.
Yeah, I mean, and these bottom 3 are all citrus flavors for me, so you guys kind of know where my palate's going. It's I like fruits, right? Number 3, for me is cashmere peach. I like sometimes I like florals, and cashmere was the first one that I was like, this is good. It was deep. I had the peach flavors to it, and it was complex enough. I know a lot of people, or some people have mentioned, they're like, oh, it smells like potpourri. I never grew up with incense, so I never got that.
Okay.
I like it. It's good. Number 2, cane mint, for its reasons. When you want a little bit of mint and cane something, right? It always goes in the bottom of the bowl.
Rio Mint.
Yeah, Rio Mint is
Old school cane mint.
So I gotta say, I agree with Matt with this. My cane mint has now recently been replaced with Rio Mint, and for well, I mean, it's Rio Mint's good, dude. Like I don't know what to, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like it just when you smoke if you smoke Tangiers the last 10 years, and you see cane mint on there, and you're like, oh, the cane mint's kind of different now, right? This Rio Mint tastes like what
I have it.
Cane mint.
I have it on
Yeah.
good authority that the reason why it is as good as it is, and used to be, why it tastes like old school cane mint, is because the old school cane mint stuff that was used to make cane mint is now what's used to make Rio Mint.
Hi, Bridget.
No, it's not Bridget. That's my daughter.
Oh, hi, Bridget's twin.
Oh my
The
goodness.
logistics on that are a nightmare.
Right. Anyways, sorry about that. What's your number 1 flavor, Paul?
Orange soda. Berkook.
Ooh.
Berkook orange
Hold
soda.
on,
not
Berkook?
Noir.
Berkook.
Berkook orange
Ugh.
soda.
Okay.
He said, ooh.
Yeah. He was like, wait, there's no buzz with that. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Sometimes you don't want a buzz.
Oh my
It's,
goodness.
the Noir orange soda is very different from the Berkook orange soda. Just trust me on that.
I might have to try it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump
So-
over to Adrian. Let's jump over to Adrian and find out what his top 5 and honorable mention are when it comes to Tangiers.
I am not the biggest fan of super fruity flavors. There are a few. I'll get one honorable mention out of the way right now because I feel like it's a bit of a cheat. Cane mint. I too have switched over to Rio Mint as my cane mint-esque flavor of choice. But if I'm smoking just Tangiers, and I still do order cane mint because I do like pure Tangiers bowls from time to time because of the way that they perform, and that black strap molasses flavor is the reason I smoke Tangiers. So cane mint. This list changes probably every couple months you ask me because there's so many Tangiers flavors. But as of right now, I'd start number 5 with Sevilla Orange. And for those who haven't had Sevilla Orange, it's kind of a peely orange. It's not super sweet or fruity. It's super good. It's hard to nail it down exactly what the flavor profile is. I just use orange peel because I think that's the closest thing to home. It's just a super good flavor. And then in spot number 4, this is a really hard one, but I'm going to go ahead and put in dark plum. It's almost reminiscent of a Dr. Pepper flavor
Absolutely.
in some ways, but also it's just like this that's like kind of like one of the other flavors on my list. It's very full-bodied. It's delicious. It's not intrusive. You can smoke on it for a good 3 hours if you want to without getting super sick of it. Then in number 3, I'm going to go ahead and completely contradict myself because pink grapefruit is like one of the flavors I always pick up. And pink grapefruit's just really good. Ruby red squirt, it's awesome. I don't have rose-colored like nostalgia glasses to look at it through, so I'm not like Matt where it's not as good as it was. Or as I remember it being. It's always been good. I've been smoking it for 2-3 years straight, and it's always good. Number 2, this is a really hard one. You guys got me tripped up. There's 2 flavors that could jump into the number 2 spot, and I'm just going to go ahead and say maraschino cherry. And that's just
man, I forgot about that one.
It's such a good mixer. Like I never smoke it straight, but you ever you know how they say put a cherry on top?
Yeah.
Every time you put a cherry on top. And then number 1, easy peasy. It's not even a question. It's cashmere peach. It's not just the best Tangiers flavor. It's the best flavor in the world. Like I could just, if someone told me you only get to smoke one flavor for the rest of your life, I wouldn't even be that devastated. I'd be like, I could fuck with cashmere peach for the rest of my life. Whatever.
That is a bold claim.
K-Peach is good though.
I haven't changed that mentality for like almost 3 years now, man. It's absurd.
That's like the original polarizing opinion.
I know, it's weird. Originally when I first tried it, I hated it. It was not a love at first sight. It was a very creeping kind of I got fatigued with those really sweet, super saturated flavors. And eventually I found K-Peach and I keep coming back to it. And I was like, all I ever want to do is smoke K-Peach. So every other bowl for me is K-Peach.
Dude, I think K-Peach is a gateway to like once you learn to appreciate K-Peach, it's the gateway. Yeah, it's the gateway to appreciating like florals and like complex flavors.
Yep, exactly.
Because a lot of times people get stuck on single notes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about Static Starlight. It's a gateway to appreciating amazing flavors because it's such a complex flavor. It's so
no
good.
bias whatsoever.
I just think it's no bias in any way. This is the unbiased podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
One more honorable mention I haven't even tried yet, but based on the community reviews of the peers, some of which are in this room, I'm pretty sure that the Cashmere Black I'm about to try is going to be phenomenal and find its way into that list somewhere. So,
oh man, that one's good.
I have heard good things about Cashmere Black. I'm interested to find out more information about it. Very quickly, I have one more very, very small honorable mention I'd like to just say real quick. And the reason why is because I don't smoke this anymore, and I used to love it. And it's only because I smoked way too much of it that I'm not a big fan of it anymore. But passion fruit. Passion fruit. I used to have a deep love for from Tangiers, and I smoked far too much of it. And honest to God, I can't even smell it anymore. Like it honestly will upset my stomach if I smell it to this day. It's just not. It's too much at this point, and I just cannot handle it. But that's I do want to throw it in as an honorable mention, just because I used to have such a love and fascination with that flavor. But Bracken,
oh my God, absinthe too?
Oh, I've never had absinthe. I've never had that one.
It's good.
I've also never had Prince of Gray.
Man, in the chat right now, Cameron just triggered me. He was like, "Oh, complex flavors. I roll ×3."
Oh, we should also talk about Tangiers.
You try to make a cashmere flavored like something. I bet it's gonna be pretty hard, dude.
Anybody ever just smoke pure cashmere by itself? Anybody a fan of that? Anybody?
Yeah.
All right. So, Bracken, let's go ahead and jump into your honorable mentions and your top 5. What are yours?
All right. So, I start with the honorable mentions.
Yeah. However you want to. You do it.
Bottom up, top down.
I'm like Adrian. I don't think it's fair to ask me to only pick 5 plus a couple for Tangiers, but That's because I'm a big fan of most of the catalog of Tangiers, and it's because of that black strap, that brown earthy note. I think it just complements every flavor, and it's just like a very good change of pace. My honorable mentions are seasonal flavors for me, and so that's why I picked them, because when it's the right temperature outside, when the right music is playing on the radio, I can smoke these flavors. And it's even harder now that I live in Florida because we don't get cold weather really. But my honorable mentions, and these are in no particular order. Pumpkin. I'm a really big fan of Tangiers pumpkin. And I know a lot of people are like, that's disgusting. But for me, it really tastes like just like a very pure pumpkin pie. I love it, right? And my next flavor is clove. Clove is a flavor
dude.
that
Man, I forgot about it.
I forgot about
okay,
that too.
So when I first tried clove in college, I was obsessed, and all of my friends that smoked hookah with me were so pissed because they absolutely hated it. But for me, it taught me how to smoke a hookah by myself, and it really taught me how to handle an entire Tangiers bowl by myself because no one wanted to smoke that with me. But I smoke it straight. I mix it with the pumpkin, and you know what? It's the most wonderful time of the year. And last but not least, I had to add 3 because I've smoked almost all the Tangiers flavors. Horchata is also a really good seasonal note.
Used to love horchata. Used to
The
love
cinnamon rice milk, I think, is a really good combination that partners with that earthy Tangiers and flavor.
You get raisins in yours?
No, I don't get raisins. Get
I
out
taste
of
raisins.
here.
The raisin in mine for sure.
I get raisins. Yeah, I get raisin.
and it's
Do
good.
not-
It's good.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I don't taste raisins, but that's fair. Your bowl, your rules. So my top 5, and these are in no particular order. Starting off is a relatively new flavor that I've just started to get into, and I kind of paired it with a flavor that I liked that I haven't been able to get my hands on because I like them for the same reasons. And that's, Paul mentioned it, papaya sorbet and summer resort. I think they're 2 very similar flavors, and the reason I like papaya sorbet so much is because for the first half hour of the bowl, it tastes like cucumbers. And then it transitions into a mellow, sweet papaya flavor. And I freaking loved that. I thought it blew my mind the first time I smoked it. I was like, wow, this Tangiers flavor actually has 2 flavors. And the more you smoke it, the more it changes. Like, don't really get that very often, right? Most of the time, like, you just lose flavor as the bowl progresses. But with papaya sorbet, it started out as summer resort. And then as the bowl heated up, it transitioned into papaya. And I was like, yo, this has got to go on my list. Next, I'm a really big fan of some of the berry fruit flavors that Tangiers has, but it's excluding all of the red fruits and all the red berries. I don't like any of the cherry flavors or any of those, but brambleberry. Like, what the fuck is a brambleberry? I don't know. What's a schnozberry? I've got no idea. But I love them. I think they're a really good berry flavor. I can't remember the name, so I wrote down that one time I had that one flavor. And I describe it as cashmere mint chocolate.
Oh, are you talking about bug powder?
Thank you.
Okay.
Bug powder.
Bug
So I
powder.
love bug powder.
Bug powder is interesting because it's a mixture of all the leftover cashier flavors.
I legitimately the first couple times that I bought it it was mint chocolate and cashmere, and it was the most divine flavor. I thought, this is really something. Never thought in a million years to mix floral and mint chocolate, but try it at home. Let me know what you think. Adrian stole one of mine, but it's my first ever Tangiers flavor. It will be in my top forever. And if I don't mention it, it's just because I forgot about it because it's hard to get. Dark plum.
Very good.
I love that flavor. Adrian described it wonderfully. It's complex. It's full-bodied. It's not sweet. It's not savory. It's right where I want it to be. And I loved it. And then my last flavor, and this might always be my top flavor, but it might change. Tangiers, Eric, please bring this back. Old school watermelon.
Watermelon. Oh.
Not watermelon. Old school watermelon. 2 different flavors.
Old school watermelon. It's so. Did you see the post
OSW.
earlier?
OSW was, in my opinion, the best watermelon flavor I have ever tried, short of watermelon lit from Eternal Smoke.
Bracken, it's back.
Is it?
It is.
Yes.
Eric, you listened. Wow. Talk about giving the people what they want. Customer service 10 out of 10. Put my Yelp review.
There's a new batch about like maybe 4-5 months old that
And
you
it's
can pick up from certain people.
and it's really good.
Well, I want some.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of the show and you can send it to me, I will pay you back.
So check this out. All we discovered is Tangiers is really good.
Yeah.
We named like half their catalog probably.
No way.
And it's all good. Not even close.
We named a 10th, maybe.
Oh man, they have a
Maybe.
lot of flavors. So
I have at least 35 flavors.
we have a really good question that came
right
from
now.
the chat from Travis Green. Actually, he asked us, "What is our least favorite Tangiers flavor?" And I thought that was a really good question.
That's easy.
You know what I just forgot about?
What?
Fucking green apple candy.
Oh,
Another
my gosh, yes, that's fantastic.
Little purple candy. Oh,
green apple candy.
And Little Purple Candy. Both
They're
of those
both
are really
good.
good. But yeah, what is everybody's
Worst?
least favorite Tangiers flavor? And I think mine is probably going to go to root beer from back in the day, but I don't want to say that
I want to
because
try that one.
I don't know if it's
Matt.
any good anymore, and I don't know if I just fucked up the bowl because I never got it to smoke well. But my least favorite Tangiers flavor that I've ever had personally was kiwi. That was the worst one that I ever had.
Mm.
I never got it to smoke well. I never got good flavor out of it. It was never enjoyable. Kiwi from Tangiers was never good for me personally. So that is my flavor from Tangiers
what?
that I don't like. Is kiwi.
I've got one that I didn't like, but I'd still smoke it. Like I don't like it for Tangiers, but if someone packed a bowl of it, I wouldn't complain. I don't think. But Tuscan cantaloupe,
Mm.
I've had
Oh yeah.
100 grams of. It was fine. It just didn't hit didn't hit it on the nose for me.
What's the Tangiers flavor that you will never ever smoke?
That's hard. I haven't. Okay, so like Midnight Apple Orchard, I enjoyed that flavor.
Then it doesn't
However,
count if you enjoyed it. You just disqualified it.
But I won't smoke it. I won't smoke it because it's the worst of the double apple flavors for me. If I want double apple, I want a saturated, disgusting, maybe I'm going to die of cancer sooner than I thought double apple.
Midnight Apple Orchard is more of like a
Oh
Like,
no! I have the
exactly.
absolute worst. Hold on, I have the absolute worst flavor from Tangiers ever made or ever conceived.
I'm gonna say mine.
Okay.
Blue flower.
Oh yes, that one's terrible. But I got one
Okay,
even better.
I'm
than
gonna top
in a
that one
minute.
off.
Hold on. Tell us why you don't like blue flower.
I smoked blue flower, and I have never done this personally, but in your minds, for the listeners at home, if you're driving, don't close your eyes, but pretend to. Imagine you walk into Hobby Lobby after their sale or whatever. So like a bajillion moms have just walked through. Go into the fake flower section and lick the floor. That is what, in my opinion, blue flower, it tasted like an amalgamation of ceiling tiles and floor gunk that you had just digested straight off the ground. I hated it. I've never in my entire life thrown away 220 grams of a flavor. And I smoked one bowl of that, and I was like, does anybody want this? All my friends smelled it. None of them wanted to touch it. I couldn't give it away. So I threw it in the garbage.
Oh my God.
Paul,
Paul, you had one.
Cashmere blue.
Cashmere blues. Yeah. Okay. What is
I
it
feel
about
like
that
those
flavor
are very close.
you don't
Yeah.
like?
So cashmere blue is a mixture of blue flower and cashmere.
I didn't hate cashmere blue.
So the only reason I hate it, because I liked it at first, was Tristan was like, it tastes like a Lush bath bomb. I couldn't get it out of my head. He planted that seed in my head so deep, I couldn't get it out. And now every time I smoke that flavor, I think of going into Bed Bath & Beyond or Bath & Body Works or Lush and like taking the bath bomb and just like taking a bite out of it. It tastes like, yeah. He was like, it tastes like shampoo. I was like, ah.
So basically, Tristan.
And it's funny that it happens that way because like one person will just remind you of this one thing and
Yeah.
it's like you can't get it out of your head and it ruins the flavor for you completely.
Tristan went into your dreams in the 3rd level and put a bath bomb in your mind safe.
You Freddy Kruegered your ass.
He inceptioned you.
We got bacon being said in the chat right now.
Oh.
We have guava bana, which is also in the chat right now. There's some other ones that I'm trying to find. So the absolute worst flavor from Tangiers, and I don't think they make this anymore. And if you ever tried it, I'm sorry for you as I'm sorry as a person talking to you that you had to experience this. But the absolute worst flavor from Tangiers, 110%, is a flavor called sea buckthorn. Sea
What?
buckthorn. Yes, it was.
I've never heard of it.
Sea buckthorn is literal garbage that you will smoke. Go to your garbage can, take some out, throw it on your stove, heat it up, and try to eat it, because that is exactly what sea buckthorn tasted like. I'm not kidding at all. It was absolute
What were they going
garbage.
for?
They were going for like a tobacco flavor, and it came out tasting like burnt trash. It was horrible, and I hope somebody has ever had sea buckthorn. I don't hope that. I do not wish that anybody has experienced this, but it
So,
is
Matt, I have
the
a
worst
question
thing
for
I've
you.
ever had.
If we can find some sea buckthorn,
Oh my God. No.
can we
no.
divvy it up?
Nope.
Can we wait?
I'll
Don't come
smoke
out.
some.
Can we divvy it up between all of us and smoke it on like a live show or something?
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sea buck. I don't think you guys are gonna be able to find that.
Hey,
It's just like-
brickheads, this is a
Okay.
challenge.
Somebody find sea buckthorn.
Find it, and guess what? If you find it, we'll bring you on the show with us, depending on who you are.
Oh my gosh, sea buckthorn is literally the worst flavor in existence of mankind. It
I
absolutely.
was probably deployed when that came out. I don't remember it at
That's
all.
such a strong reaction.
It's horrible.
That was visceral, dude.
I
It's
thought my
bad.
reaction to Blue Flower was like the definition of visceral, but like Matt, he's like,
Captain Wetbeard just said sea buckthorn, pass. That's what he just said. Just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there, okay? All right, so
Oh wait,
yes.
anyone ever had the flavor Jamaica?
Oh yeah.
Jamaica.
Jamaica, yeah.
Is that what-
Jamaica. It's a hibiscus tea.
It looks like it's spelled Jamaica.
Yeah.
Have
It
you ever
looks
been
like
to
that.
a taco
call it-
truck?
No, the point is, it's delicious.
It's
Well,
amazing.
It's
And
raspberry
actually-
iced tea.
No, it's not.
It's
It's
raspberry
hibiscus.
iced tea. It's raspberry iced tea. It tastes like raspberry
There was a
iced tea.
taco truck near where I lived in college, and they served like all this authentic Mexican street food, and they served this cantaloupe fresca. They served fresh horchata and Jamaica, and I always saw it on the menu, and I was like, "What is that?" And then I bought the Tangier flavor, smoked it, and was like, "I'm digging this." I literally got in my car, drove to the taco shop at like 2 a.m, bought some in the biggest cup I could get, brought it home. It is remarkably similar to what it actually tastes like.
It is it's raspberry iced tea. I smoked it. It is
But raspberry iced
I
tea
think
didn't
it's good.
taste good from Tangiers. I didn't like it. But
I
I,
didn't
don't like
think-
the raspberries. That goes into my
I didn't like
red
Jamaica.
berries and fruit thing.
I used to love horchata from Tangiers as well, until I tried Azor's horchata, and I think was
Horchata is phenomenal.
I think it's the best horchata
Yeah.
by far. Yeah. Captain Whipper just said sea buckthorn was supposed to be dark plum / date flavor, with
Date.
nutmeg and tobacco notes, but it wasn't. It was just bad. It wasn't. It didn't even smell good. It
Maybe
didn't
there's
even
someone
smell
out there
good.
that likes it, but Matt definitely
You're wrong.
did.
It's bad.
I'm gonna try really hard to like it.
I want to try and find it. I really want to try it.
Someone text Eric real quick.
Oh my god. Okay, so we spent the entire time talking about our top 5 flavors. I wanted to go into what kind of bowls we like to use, what kind of packs, what kind of heat we like to use.
We need a second episode for this. We haven't
We
even
will-
gotten into lines.
we
There's
will-
4 lines.
There is, yeah, and I wanted to go over
Yeah.
those as well. So I'm not sure what to do. If we should try to tackle one of these conversational pieces for a little while, or if we should just cut it off and wait until the next time and try to have
Let's
a
do
part 2.
full part 2 is my vote.
Okay.
Like bring Paul back on for just a full fucking electric boogaloo.
What do
know
you
I'm saying?
guys think in the chat? Do you want to see Paul come back on for a part 2 of
We can-
Tangiers? Is that what you guys?
Yeah,
would
there's
like
so
to
many
see?
different ways to pack it too.
Yeah,
I'd like to go
this
over
is like a
And
three.
then, like there's different bowls and different ways to pack it on the bowl. Like I don't know. Like we could talk about this for a while.
We could have an entire episode on mixing Tangiers with not Tangiers.
Here's what we can do. We
And
can
we
talk
could just
about.
argue the whole time.
So I posted
This is true. We can
I
just fight each other.
I posted a chat thing on the AM Hookah Podcast group, if you guys saw it, and I asked everyone to name their top 3 flavors on there. So why don't I read those off, and we can end it with the community's choice as the top 3 flavors from Tangiers. How's that
I
sound?
like that.
Okay. So this is from Stefan. Stefan says cashmere peach, bug powder, and cane mint. We got also, let's see, Zach says horchata, foreplay on the peach, and watermelon. Nobody said foreplay on the peach. That is surprising, actually.
Foreplay's a good mixer. I can't smoke that stuff straight. It's too sweet.
David says that he doesn't have a top 3, but he does cycle from time to time. He says currently cashmere black, boysenberry, and cane mint.
Boysenberry.
Rob says the Azor alternatives. I'm not 100% sure what that means. Matthew John says a mix of cocoa, cane mint, experiment, and cola. I've never had a cola flavor from Tangiers.
Tangiers cola is very unique.
It's interesting.
Are you talking about Coke? K-O?
Yes,
Yeah,
Koke.
Cola flavor.
It does not quite taste like Coke, but like it kind of does.
Huh. I've never
It's
tried
ve-
that
it's a-
flavor.
All right, go get a bottle of Coke, open it, drink half of it, close it, shake it, open it, close it, shake it. Get it as flat as you can get it and slightly stale. And I think that's kind of what it tastes like. But it was like one of the first cola flavors that I was like, oh, this kind of tastes like what it's supposed to, because I had Alfacher Coke and it was like, woo,
Not good.
no, thank you.
So Cameron is in the chat, and Cameron said that Tangiers is 99% trash, is what he says. I'd like to know, Cameron, what is your favorite Tangiers flavor? What is the 1% good from Tangiers? Even if you don't think that it's like the best or anything like that, what is your 1% flavors from Tangiers that you do
He
like?
did say 1% good, so
Yeah.
we'll
So
hold him to that.
I want to know what's your 1% good, Cameron. 99% trash. What's your 1% good? A lot of people say the only way to mix K-Peach is by putting it in the trash can. That is Raul's favorite mix.
That's totally cool. What you could do, check it out, is I'll pay for shipping. Just put it in a box and send it to me, and I'll throw it in the trash can.
And by trash
There
can,
you
he
go.
means his mouth.
After
Yeah,
he
my
uses it.
After I use it. Sometimes I use it twice. It's so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to wait for Cameron to answer us. I'd like to know what his 1% good is. But Paul, thank you
Cameron,
so
if you're
much.
driving, don't answer. 'Cause I
Yeah.
know where he's probably driving right
Pull
now.
over, Cameron. So, guys, Paul, thank you so much for being on the show and being our guest. I really do appreciate it a ton. It's been a fantastic time having you here. I'm so glad that we could get you on the actual show. Long time ago, we've had you on. You've been a part of the Gamecast before. You've been a part of Technical Difficulties before. So it's so nice to have you on the actual main podcast, for instance. So I really like that a lot.
Yeah, this was really fun.
Cameron says only what? You can't just say only. You can't leave us in suspense.
Summer
like that.
Resort and Foreplay on the Peach are the only good flavors, according to Cameron.
Is that what he just said?
Oh,
I see it. I
Matt,
see it now. Okay.
by the way, wintergreen. You get root beer?
I haven't tried wintergreen yet. I haven't tried it.
Okay, you should.
I will have to try that one.
Good.
Well, I think that's probably going to kill it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and being part of the show. We appreciate it so much. We will definitely have a part 2. I don't know if that'll be next week or not. I don't know. You guys just want to do a part 2 next week of Tangiers episode?
We'll get with Paul and we'll figure out what works for his schedule.
I like that
Let
idea. I like that
me
idea.
check my calendar.
You don't have to
right
commit now, Paul. Don't worry.
So thank you guys.
We'll
Now,
report.
we want to make him wait, Paul. So even if you can do it, just don't tell us till we stop the
No,
camera.
September 30th. I'm free.
Oh, we got to bait him. We have to.
Hang on. Paul might make it. We don't know yet.
We don't know. For
Yeah,
sure.
we don't know.
Tune in to find out.
So thank you guys so much for watching, being a part of the show. We are the AM Hookah Podcast. We're right here live on YouTube at 6:30 Central Standard Time every single Monday. Thank you to our wonderful producer, Bracken Cox, the lover of the AM socks, for being on the episode today. We appreciate it as always. Always has those socks nearby because he's always on brand. Thank you, Adrian, for joining us as well. Where can people find you on the internet if they are looking for you?
YouTube videos, hookah related, Pipe Dream Hookah, me on other form, _Pipe Dream, Instagram and Twitter, Facebook. I've done this so many times and there's no one new, but find me. My name's Adrian. My face looks like this and you're fucking adult. Figure it out.
You can find the AM Hookah Podcast all over the place as well, right here on YouTube, youtube.com/AM Hookah. You can also find us on many different audio platforms. If you guys are fans of listening to the audio edition of the podcast, let us know. I would love to know which one of you brickheads are fans of the audio version of this show. Let me know. Either send a message or drop a comment of some kind on your platform of choice. We're on all of them. On Google Play, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, everything we exist on that we're capable of existing on. And then also you can find us on Twitter as well. You can find us on Instagram as well, AM Hookah Podcast, Facebook page, and Facebook group. Paul, if people are looking for you, where can they go to find you?
Facebook group, Hookah University. That's where I'm normally at. And that's about it.
Oh my gosh, fantastic. Cameron has a very quick question. For Adrian. He says, hey, Adrian, have you been smoking Dark Side?
The answer to that question is yes.
There you go.
Nice.
There's our answer. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We appreciate
Find
it
me
so very
online.
much. Yes, you can find Bracken all over the place as well. You have some new Instagram accounts, actually. Would you like to pimp those a little bit?
Go ahead. I don't need to.
No, I want you to.
Bracken Cox at
Please.
Tinder.com.
Where can we find you, Bracken?
No, I'm a little hurt right now. My feelings.
I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm kidding.
I went the wrong way in my circle. I apologize.
No, I just started a new Instagram. Come find me. Pack it, poke it, smoke it. That's it. PACKIT. POKEIT. SMOKEIT. You can find me at Instagram, Packbats Instagram, and I'm mod on Facebook /Hookah University. So if you say bad things, I will delete it.
Cameron wants to know your opinion on Darkseid, Adrian. Cameron wants very quickly, what's your opinion of Darkseid?
Tune in next time to find out Adrian's opinion on
Dark
Darkseid.
Side. Auf Wiedersehen, fuckers. Cut the cameras, Matthew.